Hi everyone, and welcome to week 4. This will be 2 separate parts, again kind of similar to week 1. Part 1 will look at feedback from the activities from last week, and then I'll also go over an overview for modules 8 and 9. And then part 2 will talk about the activities for week 4 in more detail. So to start off with the feedback, I thought you did a great job with your online posts again. You had some great examples. I did send you individual feedback if your interpretation of a concept needed a little bit of tweaking. You all did a great job putting quotes in quotation marks and providing a citation. I did want to offer a little bit of specific feedback about that. So let's say you have a quote and it's from the textbook. What you would do is you would include the page number of the quotation if it's something that you would put in quotation marks. And I think I mentioned before, if it is more than 3 words, 3 or more words, that's a direct quote from someone, then you would definitely put that in quotation marks. And with any citation, whether or not it's a direct quote, you would also include the author's last name or last names if there's more than one author, and the year of publication. And if it is a direct quote that's in quotation marks, you'll also include the page number. One thing that doesn't necessarily make sense but that is consistent with APA style is to put the punctuation on the outside of the citation and the quotation marks on the inside of the sentence. So it'll have quotation marks and then the citation and then the punctuation will go on the outside unless the punctuation was part of the original citation, the original quote. And if you have any other questions about quotation marks or punctuation, the APA style blog is actually very helpful, in addition to the Purdue OWL, for different hints, more fine points. So I do appreciate citations with quotes. In the future, however, I would encourage you to put things in your own words instead of quoting the textbook or other sources. That lets me know that you understand the concepts. By rewording them, you'll demonstrate to me that you understand it well. But overall, you did an excellent job. I definitely enjoyed reading how the concepts could be applied to your own life or the lives of your friends and family or things that you've seen in the media. I looked over the responses for quiz 3. FMQ stands for Frequently Missed Questions. There was really only one this time. That was the question that asked about dispositional attributions regarding poverty and unemployment. And there were 3 responses, so the actual question was, those who make dispositional attributions regarding poverty and unemployment tend to adopt political positions that, and 3 of the options that people chose were offer more direct support to the poor, are unsympathetic to the poor, or tend to blame the poor for their problems. When we're talking about dispositional attributions, that tends to relate more to affective or emotional reaction to people, so the sympathetic part of it would be the key there, rather than blaming the poor for their problems. There are other theories in psychology that talk about who's to blame for someone being in a certain situation. But from this chapter, from this module, on page 61 actually is where it talks about dispositional attributions being related to sympathy. It also continues on to page 62, so you can check that out if you want to review that. I've also graded the second reflective writing that you did. It sounds like your groups are all working well together so far, which is excellent. You identified some concepts that can be applied to group work. Things like the confirmation bias, the fundamental attribution error, and the planning fallacy were a little bit more common than the others. A few of you mentioned intentionally seeking out sources that would disprove your hypothesis, in addition to looking for sources that would support it. And that's the ideal way of doing research, because if you can disprove something, then you know for sure if your hypothesis is supported or not. Heavy on the not in that respect. If you just support your hypothesis, you have no way of knowing if in some other scenario it might not be true. You also mentioned wanting to give yourself enough time to work on each component of the project so you could avoid the planning fallacy, not giving yourself enough time to complete things. Also, generally, the distribution of work is fairly even at this point. There were some differences. And of course, as the project goes on, there will be additional tasks where you can have more opportunities to kind of even out the distribution of work among your group members a little bit more. I wanted to go over APA formatting for figures and tables. Some of you may have written APA formatted papers before, but a lot of them are like a literature review paper where you don't necessarily have to include any figures or tables, and so you may not have learned how to format those. So I didn't count off any points since we hadn't talked about it yet, but I want to do a demonstration right now so you can see step by step how I would go about doing that. So let's say, hypothetically, you are in a group with 4 people. You can pick any of these 4 that you would like to be. Let's say, hypothetically, I am Stephanie, and I have decided that one of my group members, Alfonso, has done about 30% of the work so far, Maurice has done 18, I've done about 20, and Kiki has done 42. So what I want to do is create a pie chart or pie graph that represents the proportional contributions from everyone. So what I've done is I have put this information in Excel. So here on the left, looks just like the other table, I have the member name and then the contribution on the right. And whenever you have percents, Excel automatically converts it to decimals. So 0.3 out of 1.0 being the total contribution. And here I have some tips on formatting figures for APA style papers. I'll leave this up here for a second so you can always go back and pause on this if you want to go over those hints again. First thing I'm going to do is sort the numerical column, the contribution column, to order the numbers from largest to smallest. So you can do that right here, sort and filter. And I want to do a custom sort so that I can pick the contribution column, which is column B. So I will pick contribution, and then I want to make sure this is largest to smallest in the order section. And then I'll click OK. So Kiki now is at the top, Alfonso is second, I'm third, Maurice is fourth. So then I'll insert the figure. And in this case, we're going to do a pie chart. So I'll go Insert, and then I can go right to the chart and insert that there. So this is the default. There are a few hints that I would suggest. First, if you are doing this for an academic manuscript, so if you are planning to go on to graduate school, if you'd like to publish some research anywhere, I would suggest using a monochromatic color scheme. That tends to read better in published work. They may not publish it in color, and so it wouldn't necessarily be easy to see if you're not using a monochromatic color scheme. If you're doing a presentation, or if you're working for a company and you want to create like a one-page summary, then you can definitely format the figure in any kind of color scheme of your choice. So I would just go to Change Colors and pick one of these monochromatic ones. I tend to go for green just because green is my favorite color, but of course you could pick any of the colors you prefer, or you could just do black and white. That's fine too. Then I would go to Quick Layout, and I would just pick this first one here so you can see the person's name and their proportion of contribution within the pie chart, which helps save you a little bit of room. Then the fourth thing is to remove the outer border. So up on the right, if you go to Format, and the first one is the fill, so that would be the background color. So the one that we want is the one with the little pencil in it. So you just pick No Outline, and that'll remove the outline. And then when you have selected the whole thing, then you'll change it to Times New Roman and font size 12. Anything that you do in APA style should be Times New Roman size 12. And since we're going to add a caption, we can just select the title and delete that. So all we need is just the actual chart. And then if you click on this, then you can hit Control-C, or you can right-click and then select Copy. Then you'll go to your word processing program, and you can either right-click and hit Paste, or you could hit Control-V and that'll paste it also. So now we have our beautifully formatted pie chart. One thing that Word does, the newest version of Word, is it always adds a space after the paragraph. We want to make sure that we remove that because that's not consistent with APA style. So if we remove that space, then we'll title it. And when you're using a figure, it'll be a little bit different from a table. So the first thing that you'll do is have figure 1 period in italics. And this will go underneath the figure, whereas the captions for tables go above tables. It's one of those weird quirks that APA style has. And then you'll create some kind of caption for it. So this